Good morning, guys. Cecil Uncensored here. Thanks for joining us. I want to bring you this Ukraine issue, the Russia-Ukraine tensions. I want to paint a 360-degree, full circle picture for you. No piecemeal. No opinion or perspective. The news outlets, they all have their way of vividly painting their own narrative of each issue that arises within our world today. And I want to do my best to break through their filters and show you the full picture. Everything that's going on and everything you should be concerned about. Hit that like button, subscribe, share, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. I'm all ears. Thanks for watching.
What about President Putin? Are you glad you're getting out of Washington?
President Joe Biden left the White House, Washington, D.C., headed to Camp David. During a briefing at Camp David on Saturday, according to senior officials, the briefing, which Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Mark Wiley attended virtually, included the discussion of troop levels as well as updates on the latest intelligence and ongoing talks with allies on their plans to respond should Russia invade Ukraine. One option under consideration is moving between 1,000 and 5,000 troops, according to senior defense official. It is intended both to shore up Eastern European and Baltic allies and to have them available to help get American citizens out if necessary.
In crisis with Russia over Ukraine as the Biden administration orders some Americans to evacuate Ukraine with Russian forces massed on the border.
President Biden is also considering sending U.S. troops to the region. We're covering all the angles of this developing story from Ukraine and Washington. We begin with our senior foreign correspondent, Ian Pennell, who is just back from the front lines. Good morning, Ian.
Yeah, good morning, George. There are reports Russia is planning significant military action against Ukraine. Those are the words from this latest advisory from the State Department. Now, NATO putting extra forces on standby and sending additional ships and fighter jets to Eastern Europe as the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine tells some staff and relatives to leave.
U.S. officials ordering the evacuation of family members of U.S. embassy staff in Ukraine. Some non-essential personnel also allowed to leave. The State Department writing, U.S. citizens in Ukraine should consider departing now using commercial or other privately available transportation options. Now the UK following suit, also ordering some embassy staff to leave. This morning.
So we have this escalating crisis going on in Ukraine. I've included this caption here of a news article, explainer, Biden, allies pushed out Ukrainian prosecutor because he didn't pursue corruption cases. Well, I've got a different opinion of that. I watched the news. I saw what happened. I have the clip on here where he denied them the funds. UK accuses Russia of trying to install pro-Kremlin government in Kyiv. You can't blame Russia for wanting a pro-Russia government in the country next door. Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Burisma. The corruption in Ukraine is out of hand, has been out of hand since the Obama administration and maybe before. Joe Biden went over there and made a mess. He muddied the waters and now we're paying the price. As vice president and now as president, he has shown us that he is incompetent as a leader and that he's not fit to lead on the world stage. It's all self-interest. It's all about me. Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, the Biden crime family, call them what you will. But the escalating situation in Ukraine, I blame directly on the Biden's involvement in the Ukrainian government. How they have conducted business over there. And Russia's just fed up with it. Putin wants to rebuild the USSR, maybe, assuming. The United States just needs to leave Eastern Europe alone and stop using countries like Ukraine to enrich themselves. Because we see it time and time again. Each administration has their special interests. They have their insider trading. They have their corruption in other countries where they're extorting natural resources or they're extorting natural peoples for manufacturing processes. And the other countries around the world see this firsthand and they're just fed up with it. And Putin is not the one to try. He's made it very clear that he doesn't respect Joe Biden the same way that he did not respect Obama when Joe Biden was his vice president. Putin is very dangerous in this matter, and he's got 127,000 troops on the border ready to invade Ukraine whenever he says go.
Trump knows there are no truth in the charges against me. None. Zero.
We're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said, I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time.
Joe Biden is our dad. We want to tell you what kind of president our dad will be.
Meet Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's 50-year-old scandal-hit middle child. Often described as former vice president, Biden's soft spot. Hunter has been a favorite fodder for tabloids and magazines. And for a reason, from being thrown out of the U.S. Navy for cocaine abuse to fathering a child with a stripper and having an affair with his dead brother's widow, Hunter Biden has been on the news for all the wrong reasons.
The Post has obtained emails revealing that Hunter Biden introduced his father to a top executive at Burisma, where Hunter served on the board of directors. Joe Biden was the vice president at this time under the Obama administration. Joe Biden has been adamant that he never spoke to his son about Hunter's overseas business dealings, and correspondence seems to indicate otherwise. The emails are there, the telephone conversations are there, the pictures are there of Joe and Hunter together in China, where Joe met with Hunter's business associates tied to the Communist Party, and God only knows what they discussed. One message was allegedly sent by Vadim Posharsky, reportedly to be a top exec and advisor to the board in April of 2015. Dear Hunter, thank you for inviting me to DC and giving me an opportunity to meet your father. Another message allegedly sent by the same individual in May of 2014 asked Hunter for advice on how you could use your influence to benefit the company. Now, do you think it's a coincidence that in May of 2014, Burisma officials and corruption in Ukraine is asking for influence from his family, meaning the Biden name, meaning Joe Biden, the vice president at the time? And is it also just coincidence that in 2014, Putin decided to take Crimea back and the peninsula on the border where the Ukrainian conflict started or re-escalated? I don't think it's coincidence at all. I think that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden playing games in the Western European area has created this mess, and Putin is tired of the United States enriching themselves off of his people, off of his country, off of their natural resources. And then this is where it's going to get complicated because Europe is so reliant on Russia. Headline here is U.S. in talks with Qatar over supplying liquid natural gas to the European Union. Sources say U.S. move comes after Russia, largest provider of energy to the EU, masses troops on the Ukrainian border. Europe's energy reliance on Russia is a crucial shield for Putin. The analyst said Moscow may be mobilizing troops out of concern that Ukraine may try to regain the Donbas region by force. Moscow seized the Crimean Peninsula in 2000 to oppose their pro-Russian president, Viktor Yanukovych. A few weeks later, a pro-Russian rebellion broke out in eastern Ukraine that has since killed more than 13,000 people. The UK is among a handful of Western nations rushing weapons to Ukraine, including anti-tank missiles, while other countries, including Germany, have refused to supply arms to Kyiv. Now, the reason that Germany doesn't want to get into the battle is because Germany receives a lot of natural gas and other energy supplies from Russia. Russia holds tremendous leverage over some European countries because it provides roughly 40% of Europe's natural gas supply. In Germany, this figure is greater than 50%. Should Russia choose to cut off the supplies in the middle of winter in response to the imposition of Ukraine-related sanctions, energy costs would skyrocket and millions could shiver amid power outages. This would put pressure on political leaders to weaken the sanctions. And this is where going green, the European theater, the European Union, lost their bargaining power because Europe and Germany in general really removed nuclear power from their infrastructure in exchange for natural gas burning facilities. And then they have the pipeline. Europe's energy reliance on Russia is a crucial shield for Putin, and Putin knows it. He knows that he has the upper hand, and the sanctions don't affect him. What Western culture fails to realize, what Americans failed to realize when they analyze the world stage, and possibly why all this foreign policy fails, is people in other countries do not view the world the same way that we do. Life is not valuable over there the way that it is here, and people are disposed of the way we throw away a paper towel. When you are dealing with a person like that, the only thing you can do is have a bigger stick. The problem is Joe Biden, incompetent, frail, weak, can't lift the bigger stick. Have you seen Putin on his horse? That guy's going to get off the horse and kick Joe Biden's butt. You know how Joe Biden said he wanted to take Donald Trump behind the bleachers? Putin's going to take him behind the bleachers after he gets done taking Ukraine. United by a shared distrust. United by a shared distrust for Western democracies, China and Russia have also been looking for new ways to deepen their comprehensive strategic partnership to counter pressure from the West. As both countries' confrontations with the U.S. deepen, their leaders have repeatedly pledged cooperation in emerging areas, including data security, cyberspace, the Arctic, and infrastructure. At the same time, Beijing and Moscow are seeking to increase the use of their currencies and bilateral payments to curtail the influence of the U.S. dollar and reduce the effects of Washington-imposed sanctions. So here's the problem. When somebody has a product that you can't live without, you can't not buy it. So the European Union is forced to buy their fossil fuels from Russia because the reserves that Russia has are so large. But not only that, if the European Union does say, no, Russia, we're not going to buy your goods, they're just going to sell them to Asia. Korea, Japan, China, all of them will buy the same natural gas that the European Union will. And with this and the bilateral payment system that they're working on to go from Russia to China, they're going to cut the Americans and NATO right out of the deal. And then there's not going to be any stopping them because of the corruption of the Bidens. All right, guys, that's what I got for you on the Ukraine-Russia tensions, conflict in Eastern Europe. Check back for more stories. I'm uploading more daily. I've got a bunch that I'm waiting on YouTube to release as soon as they get done with their checks and balances, I guess. Make sure that I'm not too controversial. But thanks for watching. Leave me a like, a share, subscribe, drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Looking for you guys to help me build the channel.